Oh, I'm back. Believe it or not, I made it back. Well, for the last segment here, we have with Steve Lynch on the phone joining us now because Scott Schweitzer is not available to be with us here today on the Bakersfield Speedway segment of the Power Hour. Mike Griffith, fine job. I heard you talked a lot about me while I was gone. That's always appreciated.
No, I just made note that you were gone, which is not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. Real quick, our winner, fan voting of the more than almost 20,000 votes cast, because I didn't count all the write-in ones yet. We had 14,295 votes cast. Austin Fry is your winner.
And I think that's kind of a surprise win. Who knew that Austin had a cult following in drag racing circles, and that the drag racers would get in on the voting party? So that's kind of good to see.
Did we get a picture of Austin Fry?
Yes, we have a picture. He sent me the same one that's on his Facebook page and his Twitter feed. So he's actually in Las Vegas and going to do a little drag racing in Las Vegas this weekend. They've got a big spring fling race over there.
He edged Kevin Collier for the fan vote. And again, we're going to kind of make a rule here that you got to win locally in order to be in the thing.
Our local driver has to win.
Has to win, right.
So, locally, and then we'll make exceptions if we see something in a national type setting.
Speaking of exceptions to the rule, and speaking of winning, we now have on the phone Steve Lynch. Are you there, Steve?
Yes. How's it going, Lewis?
Good. So I don't know if you heard the controversy that we had here early on, but a young man named Nicholas Johnson had a furious write-in vote candidacy going in for Driver of the Week. And I made the decision to cut off the write-in votes because, without really knowing the situation, and Scott's not here to talk to him about it, he didn't win the race. He finished second to Brian Childress in the American Stocks class Saturday night. But tell me about that race.
Oh, it was a fabulous battle between the two of them. 4 passes in the last 10 laps, and those are just the passes that, count, because in racing it doesn't count unless you're leading when you come back to the line. They were battling back and forth and probably passed each other, nudged ahead of each other 15 times over the last, 10 laps of that race. And the amazing thing is Johnson's only 13 years old, and it's only a second time, I believe, in an American stock, and he's only been driving a car for 2 years.
Wow.
And he jumps up to the American stocks, and Brian Childress, a very good veteran driver, and really gave him all he could handle in that race.
And I think that had to say something for the track preparation, too, if they were running side by side and basically swapping leads and not banging fenders.
Yeah, the track was a little bit slick, but that's the way the track is. The track was very good. All the drivers and all the divisions actually were commending the Schweitzer, Scott, on how good the track was racing. And early on, it was a little bit, during the heat races, it was a little bit of a one-groove track. But once we got to the main events, the outside groove came in a lot more. And, there was a lot of side-by-side racing, a lot of exciting racing in all the divisions on Saturday night.
Well, let's talk a little bit about those races here in a moment here. Let's get right to some of the facts that are coming up here. Let's get the schedule for Bakersfield Speedway coming up here. Coming up this weekend, Modifieds, Sport Mods, the IMCA stocks, the mini stocks, California Lightning Sprints, and this ESPN Radio Night. Now, Modified, Sport Mods, mini stocks, Tina Bell has dominated this event, but has got a push the last time she was out there. And Sport Mods, I think it's 4 races and 4 winners. Should be exciting.
And Modifieds is 3 races and 3 winners, if I'm not mistaken. Steve, you were out there for the last Modified and Sport Mod race, correct?
Yeah, those divisions are very competitive. There's a lot of different, a lot of solid drivers in both those divisions that can win on any night, just depending on how well they have their cars set up. And a lot of it, obviously depends on the heat race and where they start in the A main, because a lot of times you can be a really fast driver, but if you have to start in the back of a big field, it can be tough to work your way to the front in 20 or 25, even 30 laps.
Yeah, and what they're doing now is they basically they'll do their points earned average for starting. So if you're first in points, I think you start about 10th. It's that invert, Lewis.
Right.
So like Kyle Heckman in the Modifieds is going to have to, and Ethan Dotson, they're going to be starting about 9th and 10th each. So trying to come through the win. Ethan Dotson trying to look for his first win in a modified race, coming off a win in Hanford last week. And so it is tough. And Brad Pounds, he's going to have to be in the middle of the pack. He hasn't got a win yet. So maybe somebody starting up front, if you get maybe Chad Reichen back or somebody like that can start closer to the front, maybe we'll have our 4th straight winner in the modifieds. And the same thing for the sport mods, where if you're leading up in the points, top 2 or 3, you're starting basically almost
Right.
mid-pack.
It'll be very interesting to see those races this weekend. Who's covering that this weekend? Are you covering that, or is
I think I'll be covering that. I haven't told Mitch, but I guess Mitch can go out to Kern County Raceway Park this weekend. I'll switch back to
Twin
the dirt.
35s there this weekend? It's late models, so that'll be kind of exciting. Let's keep going. Let's look at this is the late model races, and Tom Mock. We're able to get all of his photos in. Great job from Tom as usual. But the late models, Bobby Hogue the 4th, as Mike tweeted out, just give him the keys to the facility. Steve, tell us about that race in the late models.
Well, Bobby had to start a little bit further in the back, and Tony Toast was on the front row, and Toast got out in clean air, and it looked for a while. You were thinking the way that Hogue's been running and the way he dominated the trophy dash that he would get to Toast quickly, but he wasn't. With Toast out in clean air, he was able to hold Hogue back, but finally they got into some lap traffic, and Bobby Hogue was just able to pick his way through the lap traffic a little bit better than Tony Toast. I mean, he did have the faster car. You felt like it was only a matter of time till he got to him, and then once they got through some lap traffic, Bobby Hogue was able to gain some ground, and then he just was able to pick his way through the lap traffic a lot better. And once he got out into the clean air, there was no catching him because he clearly had the fastest car.
Absolutely. Bobby Hogue the 4th with the win. Tony Toast in 2nd. Jason Papich in 3rd. Andy Obertello in 4th. Nick Bartels in 5th. Rob Sanders in 6th. Clay Daly 7th. Larry Childress 8th. Jerry Stewart 9th. And Ron Bartels in 10th. Let's go to the next class. Hobby Stocks. Kevin Collier with his 3rd win of the season. Chris Suttlemeyer in 2nd, Robert Lawler in 3rd, Ralph Cook in 4th, Aaron Stewart in 5th, Lloyd Wren 6th, Brad as Appleton in 7th, Perry Alderman in 8th, Mike Hill Jr. in 9th, and Tim Delstead Jr. in 10th. What about that race, Hobby Stocks?
Collier's just really starting to dominate that division a little bit. I mean, he, like you said, 3 wins. I believe that was his 2nd win in a row.
Right.
And, we were talking up in the booth, and I think pretty much before the race, he was the consensus pick to win, and he just went out. I think, he was the strongest car in the field by far again, and, he did what he, needed to do to win the race.
All right, let's go on to the American stocks. And again, we talked about this one between Brian Childress and Nicholas Johnson. Trevor Baker finishing 3rd, Tyler Johnson in 4th, Tracy Childress in 5th, Don Meade in 6th, Charles Morrison in 7th, Cale Hofsfeld in 8th, Anthony Sly in 9th, and Mike Waters in 10th. Will we be seeing a lot more from this young man, Nicholas Johnson?
Well, based on the way he raced on Saturday night, definitely. I did not know during the race. I mean, I guess I'd seen him race, I think it was mini dwarfs or whatever, but the kid, you would not guess in a million years that he was only 13 years old the way he was wheeling that car around the track. I mean, he looked like a seasoned veteran, and like I said, Brian Childress is a good veteran driver, and he was battling door to door and going back and forth, and the kid has real talent. I mean, to be 13 years old, like I said, I think it was only his 2nd time in American stock, only been driving a car 2 years. He definitely looks like he has a bright future out there.
So 2nd time in American stock, and in his first outing, he was 5th, so that says something.
Yeah. And that was a pretty good car count, too. I mean, I think there was a good number of cars in that particular division this last weekend. I was out there for part of it, so I know I saw in the qualifying. CDCRA Dwarf Stock. These guys are kind of fun to watch. Jonathan Conley with the win there. Angel Figueroa finishing 2nd. Brandon Wiley in 3rd. Devlin Autry in 4th. And DJ LeBeau finishing out in the 5th. Let's go on now to the USAC Ignite Midgets. And Randy Pankratz, which Tom Mock says that's a name we should know.
Yeah, and it should be Pankratz, I believe, Pankratz. But anyway, it was misspelled on the entry list. But
Right.
that's Randy is the daughter of Wally Pankratz, who raced midgets and stuff for years and years. Quite a well-known name in these parts, and he finished 10th. And he's still racing. He's up there in years, and he's dropped down to this Ignite midget, this lower level class, and just having fun now.
Sean Buckley in second, Jet Davison in third, Ron Hazelton in fourth, and Robert Dalby in fifth, running at your top 5. NMRA midgets, again, that's an anything goes kind of class. Not a big class, but these guys get out there and they get after it. Usually you'll see Bruce Hiroshima on the win, but this night West Evans got the win. Chuck West in second, Hiroshima finishing third, Scott Dobson in fourth, and Chris Thomas in fifth to round out your top 5 there from Bakersfield Speedway. So a good night of racing, Mr. Lynch.
Yeah, the one thing I'd comment on the last one, no Anthony LaPiccolo for a second straight time out at the Speedway. He's usually really good in that class.
Yeah, those cars are a good fit for the Speedway as well. They put on a pretty good show usually, but you always see Chuck Evans and West Evans and Chuck West up there as well.
Yeah, it's always either Bruce, Hiroshima, West Evans, Chuck West, or Anthony LaPiccolo seem to dominate that division. And like I said, Anthony LaPiccolo, I heard the last time out he had a relative pass away, and that's why he wasn't there. I'm not sure why he wasn't there on Saturday night, because he's usually out there whenever they come to Bakersfield.
Well, good job, Steve Lynch. Good job of reporting. Great story as well. So we'll look forward to seeing what you come up with from Kern County Raceway Park. Mike Griffith will be out at Bakersfield Speedway on Saturday night. I will be staying home after my road trip. So
yeah, that's probably a wise decision if you want to stay married.
I made all 3 tracks, Steve Lynch, on Saturday night. So it was quite fun, man. Famoso was great. Came by Bakersfield Speedway. Mike Mosier helped me out a little bit. Came up and saw Griff up at KCRP. Saw a great race there. Well, we thank you all for joining us. It's been kind of a crazy show today. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by and talking about all the things here. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook at the Bako Motorsports Power Hour. Give us a like on Twitter and on Instagram. Also, follow us on YouTube. For everyone here, Chris McCullough, John Farron, the whole crew that puts this thing together, thanks so much for joining us here. We'll see you guys next week.